thing that we keep calling Vedanta, 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 and then we are learning Bhagavad Gita, so we need to little bit understand what is this word Vedanta and how Bhagavad Gita gets included in it. So just I'll start very briefly with that. The word Vedanta literally means what Veda Anta. So what it means, what appears at the end of the Veda. That is the word Vedanta, right? And what appears at the end of the Veda are the Upanishads, right? And what is Upanishad? Upanishad is a very beautiful word. The Upanishad word itself tells you what the subject is. So, the Sanskrit language is in a way that every word is based on a root. And then you have suffixes and you have prefixes which actually make the word. So, the word Upanishad has a root which is sadlu, which is sat. So, Upanishad, that shad is sat, right? And that word, the root meaning of that word has three meanings. The word means that which gets makes you get rid of. That's the first word. First meaning of the root sadlu, sat. The second meaning of that word, that root, means not only it makes you get rid of, because anything that you can get rid of can also come back again, right? You clean your house, but again the dust comes back. So the second meaning of the root is it completely disintegrates in a way that it never comes back again. That is the second meaning of the root. And the third thing is more positive, and that is it makes you gain. So that means a root with three meanings. What? That which makes you get rid of, which makes something disintegrate totally, and the third is it makes you gain. So all three the root meaning apply here. So what is it that you need to now ask? What is it that you want to get rid of? You have to answer to. That's a question. What do you want to get rid of in life?
Ignorance.
Excellent, wonderful. But that's a very noble kind of a goal that you want to get rid of ignorance. Mostly people operate at a little bit more, oh, I want to get rid of my frustrations, I want to get rid of my anger. That's how it starts, and then it actually becomes, when you become more discerning, it becomes ignorance. So that's really nice, right? So that means that initially, so this is this knowledge, Upanishad is the knowledge which makes you get rid of all the things that you don't want, which starts with all the small definitions of what we want to get rid of, which is your sense of inadequacy, your low self-esteem, as we saw last time, your angers, your fears, your all kinds of, your sadness, which you don't know where it is actually coming from. So this is something that this Upanishad helps you get rid of. But how? Because every time we have many different techniques to get rid of, our emotions, right? Starting from having two pegs of whiskey which makes you feel good to the many other techniques which makes it in a way that you get rid of it for a while, but it comes back again. So here the second root meaning is it gets rid of, but not temporarily. It disintegrates completely in a way that it never comes back. So that means you are solving the problem a lot more fundamentally than just kind of a quick fix, right? So it's not a quick fix. It's something which is deeper, and it is something, if you really understand the implication of these words, and if they do their job for you, then it totally disintegrates the life of that feeling of things are not well with me. So that means this is the second meaning. Not only it gets rid of temporarily, but disintegrates totally when there is no coming back to that position. And then what? It makes you gain. Gain what? Generally, people who, I think, Gudrun, this is how unfortunately Vedanta is presented. It will make you gain some bliss. So that means you are in search of some experience, of some extraordinary experience of bliss, and you say, oh, I'm listening and listening and listening to Vedanta, but that experience of bliss doesn't come, and even if it comes, it doesn't stay. So here, it's very, very important to know that we are here not searching for some experience which is kind of some feeling of well-being which is going to be continuous and is going to stay with you forever. As Shan very rightly say, that all these sufferings that we have is actually based on certain ignorance that we have about three essential things. Who am I? What is the nature of the universe? What is the nature of the cause of the universe? And if I live my life with ignorance of these essential facts, then there is no way I can feel totally well. So therefore, by removing the ignorance, we are not trying to get into some kind of a state. We are trying to live with a total understanding of realities. We gain the knowledge. What we gain is the knowledge, and the knowledge includes a vision of you, the universe, and the cause of the universe, and the relationship. And that is totally clear. And when you live with this clarity, then no matter what happens, you are no longer afraid of things. You are no longer afraid of the world. You are no longer trying to get rid of the world. You understand everything, put everything in its place, which gives you that freedom, makes you gain the freedom, which is based on your understanding of realities. Three root meanings, all three apply here. So that means that is the root meaning. Now, it has two prefixes. What are the two prefixes? Upa, Ni, and then Sat, the root. Right? Now, this knowledge which helps you disintegrate, get rid of your sorrows and sadness, disintegrate that life of lack completely, and makes you gain the fulfillment that you are searching for totally. That, how is it going to come? Itself is explained in what is the subject matter which will enable you to do all three. That is explained in the first prefix. What is this prefix? Upa. What is the meaning of this prefix Upa? It means something which is near. What is near? What is near is something, near is actually a relative word, right? What is near is not an absolute word. So that means, if I ask you what is near, it depends. Compared to the other galaxy, Milky Way is nearer. Compared to the Milky Way galaxy, my solar system is nearer. Compared to the solar system, the Earth is near. Compared to the earth, Europe for you is near, because you are there. Compared to Europe, your country, which is Germany right now, is near. Compared to Germany, Witzenhausen is near, because now you are there. Compared to Witzenhausen, this street, which is now Vedanta Street, is near. Compared to that street, the house is near. Compared to the house, this room is near. It's a relative word. How far can you go? Compared to this room, about you, this individual, is what? So that means, ultimately, that word near, what is nearest to you? Which is not relative, but it is always the nearest. And what is that? I, myself. So that means it's a knowledge about myself which is going to do this job that the root meaning is supposed to do. But the way I know myself, I can't say I don't know myself. Everybody starts by knowing oneself. That's why this search, that's why all of you have this story, wonderful story of what brings you here, including Shan's answer of motorbike brings me here. So that means that we all have knowledge of ourselves, but it doesn't give us all these wonderful things. What? Getting rid of your sorrows, disintegrating completely the life of lack, and gain fulfillment. So that means I know myself, but I still don't, the root meaning doesn't do its job. So what is missing then? Second prefix, me. What is missing is nishchayatmika knowledge. Everybody knows I am. Upanishads don't need to come and tell you, hey, you exist. You know it already. What Upanishads do is, the words of the Upanishads act as a mirror to make you see your true nature. Ni refers to nishchayatmika. Nishchayatmika is well ascertained knowledge of yourself. Because we all know ourselves, but we make too many mistakes about what I am. And we are stuck with the world vision, me versus the world. And in that vision, as we saw yesterday, even if you try to be nice and even if you try to do things for others, you are stuck with a poor self-image. Why are you stuck with a poor self-image? Because essentially, so many things don't happen your way. With this little individual that I think I am, many things don't happen my way. Even if I have best of the intentions. And the more and more intentions I have of changing the world and all, then I want so many things to happen. There was a very nice movie recently, the last Viceroy of India. Interesting movie.
Lord Mountbatten.
It was about Lord Mountbatten coming to India to do the last job of giving India the independence. And which is very interesting. I just want to tell you one little scene which was actually quite amazing. When the country gets independence, what happens is, the Indian flag, the British flag goes down and the Indian flag is hoisted and the whole country is rejoicing. And they are looking for Mahatma Gandhi. And where is Mahatma Gandhi? He has gone to sleep. It's a thing of freedom at midnight. Freedom at midnight means the midnight is the time that the flag was hoisted. and Gandhiji went to sleep at 7:30 in the evening and then wake up. So the journalist asks him the next day and says, hey, sir, you've been fighting for this freedom for so many years, and when it actually comes, you're sleeping? He gave up his whole life for freedom of India. And you know what his answer was? His answer was, what is his freedom? I did not envisage this freedom when the country is partitioned. I see it as my defeat. I don't see it as an occasion of celebration. So that means, even if you have, please, what I'm trying to say is the most evolved goals in life. Fighting for freedom is a person, not a simple person can do it, a highly evolved person, and so much sacrifice and so much vision is required. But still, you can be disappointed because things don't go always your way. What an irony that the whole fight was based on non-violence, and what ended up happening was what? So much violence. So much.
1 million people killed.
1 million people died. People were homeless. There was just so much that happened. So that means the universe is such, things don't always, no matter how noble your intentions are, things don't go your way. So therefore, you need to shift to a vision. You need to shift to a vision where you are not as a rule. Please don't think about it as, oh, you should not be disappointed. That's not at all the point. The vision seeing which, understanding which, it gives you a certain understanding of the world and yourself where you can take it in stride. So therefore, this is the vision of Upanishad. Nishchayatmika, knowledge about what? Yourself. A well ascertained knowledge of yourself, which is going to free you from all of this. So, what is the role of Upanishad? Not to tell you that you exist, that you already know, but to give you the true knowledge of yourself which will solve this problem, which otherwise cannot be solved. So, this is a big job that Upanishads have to do. Now, the next question is, why Bhagavad Gita? Why are we studying? Because Upanishads are part of the Vedas. Why Bhagavad Gita? Bhagavad Gita, because Bhagavad Gita, by the way, is not part of the Vedas. It comes from Mahabharata, which is one of the greatest epics of India. And within this epic, there is a dialogue which happens between Arjuna and Lord Krishna. And that dialogue happens not on the mountains, in a serene atmosphere. It happens, as Shan said, in a crisis situation, where Arjuna has to fight a war. And not just a normal war, but with his own cousins. With his own, who in the cousin side has his own teacher, has his own grandfather whom he loved very much. And in this situation, a lot of thoughts are triggered. A lot of questions arise in his mind. And there, what happens is, Lord Krishna, and he is exactly the same. The individual is what? Overwhelmed by the sorrow. And now he's searching for the teaching which will what make this sorrow and this sense of this lack of fulfillment that he has disappeared. He's searching for that. Same the subject of Upanishad. And he asks Lord Krishna. Arjuna and Lord Krishna were cousins. They knew each other for the longest time. And there was no point where Lord Krishna started saying, oh, I know this amazing truth about life, and come, let me come and, come here and I will teach you that. Lord Krishna was just supporting him in whichever way he wanted. The teaching came when Arjuna asked for it. It didn't come before. So therefore, there was some point in his life when he said, please give me that teaching which will help me overcome this amazing sorrow that I am feeling. And I don't see how this sorrow will go, whether I win the war or I lose the war. Both outcomes. I don't know how it will go. This is where Lord Krishna says the only thing which can disintegrate that is the knowledge. And he gives him the same knowledge that appears in the Upanishads. Same. There is no difference. Then, if Bhagavad Gita and Upanishads are the same, then why is it that Bhagavad Gita has become so popular? I don't know in the West, but in India, when people have a special relationship with Bhagavad Gita. And that is because this, not only it talks about the nature of self, but so many chapters of the Gita are talking about what? How do you translate that vision of oneself into your daily life? And so many of you, I'm so happy that you are searching for that. How do you make this amazing vision of Atma? How does it change your life here and now? And how you engage differently, how you do things differently, and what the perspective with which you do things, and not just always feel like that small helpless wave. So much of the Gita is talking about that growth. That growth which is required to actually first understand the vision. Without that growth, the knowledge will not take place. It's a precondition for this knowledge to take place. And as Matthias told me yesterday, which I totally agree, after sufficient growth, you may get clarity of the vision. But that journey still has to continue of what? Bringing your whole emotional life in order. This is why the tradition makes a distinction between Brahmavid and Brahmanishta. So that means there is a growth which is required for you to become Brahmavid. What is Brahmavid? The person who knows the reality. But even after you know the reality, there is a growth which continues, which makes you Brahmanishta. What is Brahmanishta? The one who has taken care of the growth. One continues to grow as an individual in a way that no situation can bring about these downs. So that means there is still further growth. So that means pre-knowledge there is growth, which is essential, and post-knowledge is also growth, which makes you live the vision of oneness. So Bhagavad Gita talks about the whole growth process, which is a beautiful thing, beautiful. That's what makes his whole tradition a very rich tradition. So that you don't this thing that, yeah, I'm given this promise of fullness and limitless and I'm still as miserable as before.
How do you define growth in that sense? Is it deepening the understanding?
It is deepening the understanding. And what generally in the second phase you mean, the growth also means that cognitively you may understand, but there is a parallel emotional life. A parallel emotional life which still is not kind of totally in sync with the vision. So that means that parallel emotional life can come up from time to time. And as it comes up, instead of denying it or trying to put pressure on yourself and say, oh, I'm this Atma, actually embracing it and slowly working through it so that that vision is the one from which you operate. It's like, actually, I love this word that he used, or Tobiya used, which is embracing one's shadow, not being afraid of it, not being in denial of it, but accept it and deal with it and grow with it. And in that, the understanding of Ishvara, understanding of so many different ways that it is taken care of, through prayers, through contemplation. So there are different methods through which that process goes on. So it will come in the Gita itself. So that's why it's a very active, pursuit where you not only try to understand the realities, but you also initiate growth. And these two subject matters of the Gita are mentioned at the end of every chapter of the Gita. Every chapter ends with Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade. Then Purushottama Yogo Nama Panchamotlaya. That doesn't matter. But what it means is, it describes what is this Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita. This is what is said in Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita Su Upanishadsu. Bhagavad Gita, which talks about the same subject matter as what Upanishad. And what is the subject matter? Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre. Two subject matters. What? Brahma Vidya, knowledge of realities about nature of I, and Yoga Shastra. What is Yoga Shastra? The whole growth that is required for you to understand. And even after understanding, you have to bring in that content. That growth continues in the sense that there is a complete integration between what you understand and your emotional life. It all is in sync. So therefore, this is what we are up for. Now, let's start. What is the time? 10:30. So start. So now the next you have to wait till 11. I hope just before I start the class, do all of you know the story of Mahabharata? Or do you want me to tell in the next class, or now, whatever, the next class maybe, just in brief, like 10-15 minutes, to come to this point of what is, this first verse of the Bhagavad Gita. What do you mind? Because sometimes people say, oh, we know the story. Do you want to hear the story just very briefly, just some parts of Mahabharata which then leads to this? Is it okay?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. Because sometimes when I told somebody, whenever I teach Gita, I tell people a story of Bhagavad Gita. And he told me at the end of the first class, you know, this is one of these CEO types. So he says, I know the story, I want to know the philosophy.
Especially as an Indian, because they grew up with the story.
Exactly.
They have like TVs,
Absolutely.
shows and that.
So now I said, okay, so now I better ask. So, but it's nice to know the context. Nice to know the context. So I'll tell the story in the next class, and then we'll start.
Or we can sit outside, have tea, and you tell the story.
Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.